So here they're kind of putting Burke on trial. It's kind of, in a way, an homage to abortion, because she mentions embryos and money and all this other stuff, and that's the Shylock character right there, which is Burke, played by Paul Reiser, because he's doing it just like the Merchant of Venice. He's on trial here, and they're all knowing that he's wrong, and they're contemplating just to grease him, just to kill him. And she knows that he was trying to use her to make money, and also to impregnate her with the embryo, the alien embryo. And so she'd go back to Earth and they could study her and make tons of money and stuff like that. And she confronts him right here. This is a really good moment, really important. James Cameron's really making a great moment about corporations taking advantage of people to make money off of them, to make a profit. Like in the original 1979 Alien. Just like in the original 1979 Ridley Scott Alien, they come high and low. So the aliens come at different angles, and this is Hicks looking up in the rafters above them in the attic space, and there is the aliens, full on. We're gonna get a shot of that. The segment is called Game Time. There they are, climbing on the rafters, coming right after them. It's right after Bill Paxton character Hudson goes, "It's a pretty big signal, man. It's a pretty big signal." During Game Time. One thing I do like about Aliens, the sequel, is the soundtrack. I think the score is absolutely brilliant, and they didn't have a lot of time to work on it. But this is a segment where just hundreds of aliens are attacking them, and they only have these little pulse rifles, and they're just shooting in controlled bursts. Burke has locked all the doors around them, just like the Shylock character would probably do, just watch out for himself only. And he's about to open that door right behind him, and he's going to face an alien and be slaughtered. That is what Burke looks like before the alien pierces his skull and kills him. The little girl finds this ventilation system, Newt, and I think the reason why she survived is because the ventilation system is so incredibly small, and the aliens cannot move in it very easily. It's very slick. So she was able to probably get through there, and she finds an escape. It's funny because Bill Paxton's character Hudson one time says, "Well, why don't you make her in charge, man?" And she actually does take charge, and they find an escape route through this ventilation segment. That's Goldstein. She's actually a Jewish actress playing a Mexican. Well, in this segment, she's in the ventilation system here, and this is a classic scene in James Cameron's film, and she's controlled burst on the pulse rifle shooting at these aliens. I'm going to show you what the aliens look like in the ventilation. Game Time, and that's one of the aliens in the ventilation system getting shot by Vasquez. The explosion that we're looking at here is because Gorman joins Vasquez, and they decide to ignite a grenade in their hand because she's just covered in acid, and that's the explosion, and she doesn't make it. So Vasquez dies. It's called Little Girl Lost, and eventually there'll be a classic scene where the alien kind of comes up out of the water, but Newt is lost in the ventilation system because she falls down on accident, and they have to go find her. So on Little Girl Lost, they eventually find Newt because she's wearing a tracker, and it kind of beeps, and they go through the grid system and finally find her, and there's her fingers, and they just tell her to hold still. I guess they're going to weld their way through it above her, but it's not quick enough, and the alien appears to get her, and that sends another plot point where Ellen Ripley has to go after Newt. And the only thing that's left is this doll head. But don't worry, Newt's still alive. It just takes a moment to get back. She pretty much explains to Hicks that they don't kill you and she's still alive. They use their bodies as a host. So the next step is to go save Newt, and that's kind of the big plot point that leads to the cathartic climactic build. and then eventually the fight between the Queen and Ripley. Bishop guides the aircraft in, and they'll try to escape pretty soon, but Ripley doesn't. She goes back for Newt. Ripley's promise. So what happens here is Ripley commands the android, or the synthetic person or artificial person, Bishop, to fly back into the colony so that she'll be able to fight the Queen off and save Newt. So Ripley gets 2 guns. She gets a pulse rifle and a flamethrower and several grenades for the grenade launching. And she still has the tracker device to track the watch. It's a tracker watch that Newt is wearing. And she's on her way. So Newt is basically waking up here, and her tracker fell off, but she's going to cry out for Ripley, and Ripley will save her. And then they have to fight the Queen. So one of the main goals of Ripley's was to wipe out the aliens. And she just was running from a few of the aliens, and she found Newt. And all of a sudden, she finds herself in the den of the evil Quinn alien. The word is Queen, okay? The evil Queen alien. Anyway, she finds herself among all of the pods right here from the evil Queen alien. I don't know why I was calling it Quinn, but it's Queen. Sorry, Queen. So Queen. And so she's going to drop as many grenades as she can into all the pods, and then run off. And then, of course, that makes the Queen very mad. This is known as the nest, and that's kind of the umbilical kind of thing for the Queen to lay the eggs. And it's like Dante's Inferno. That would be like looking at the devil, and they are in the middle of the Inferno. Well, that's the Queen. So this move was not directed by James Cameron, because I am an actor and I know these things. The slight head tilt of Sigourney Weaver is going on right here when she realizes that the Queen is going to launch out her baby parasites after her, and she has to do something. So her head tilts to the side, and she begins using the flamethrower on all the parasites, or aliens, or xenomorphs, whatever you want to call them. And then she starts unloading her grenade launcher into pretty much the body of the Queen, and basically killing all her children. And then she's going to run. And the Queen will meet up with her later when she gets on the loader and fights her. So Bishop finally finds them. Newt and Ripley get on the escape pod, and really it's a military aircraft, but they use it as an escape pod to fly off. And then below them you can see the nuclear bomb explosion, and the entire alien species is pretty much wiped out at this moment, or at least that colony of species. And then they'll go back to the ship, but little do they know that, lo and behold, the Queen was hanging on, and there's going to be a final fight. Final confrontation, and Bishop is ripped in half by the alien, and the alien will go after Ripley, and the little girl, Newt, will run underneath, kind of like another ventilation system. Because the fact that Bishop is an android, he can't really be killed that quickly, so he's still able to stay alive and look around and stuff like that. We'll find out his use later. Into the final shots of the film, the final confrontation. She gets in the loader and then fights the alien. Very similar to the 1979 version of Alien, and very similar to Ridley Scott's 1979 version of Alien. She's going to air duct him out of the spacecraft. She's going to blow the hatch. And the loader's fallen on top of the Queen. She's going to crawl up and eject her out into space. Very similar to Ridley Scott's version of 1979. This is the actual 1986 version of James Cameron's Aliens, which is a sequel. There's the alien ejected out in space, and that's it. And, well, Ripley won. She got a little girl back. And now she's got to repair the robot, which is Bishop, and we're good to go. I'm not going to show the last sequence. You'll have to watch it yourself. Bishop's character is used. He's still alive. He grabs onto Newt before she can be ejected out of space herself, which Bishop saves her. And then the next moment is when Ripley climbs up, and they're all joined together for a happy reunion. The sequence, Ripley's back in her underwear, and you can clearly tell she had no pizza or pasta or anything throughout the whole entire shoot. Her body's like perfect in this. Anyway, she gets put back in her sleeping chamber. She goes in her sleeping chamber. Hicks goes in his sleeping chamber, and Bishop goes into his sleeping chamber. And they all go to sleep, and that's pretty much the end. I do not think the alien in this version will return. Very good. Big thumbs up.